Welcome, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here. We're going to play a little Third Reich events for Hearts of Iron 4. Well, this is a preview, unlike the very first alpha thingy that I just wanted to do. This is a, as you'll see, much more developed version. There's over 100 events currently integrated into the game, and they affect things in different ways. So we're going to get started here. I decided to leave all this set up here. You'll notice this line goes all the way across here because the west wall requires the Rhineland remilitarization to happen. So, and just some basics. Let's get that being researched. Some of the groundwork done there. And I like to have a lot of civil factories. Get them building in the east so they're further away from bombers. As you maybe can tell, I start this game a lot. Now sometimes it's just excuse me, just to start it for a moment. Other times I'll add it to there. It's to play it for a while. And I sort of like to spread out the starting locations of some of these divisions. And let's do each. And we're going to put the mountain training down here, where the two mountains warfare schools Germany had. I'm not going to deal with any of those imports at the moment. Just because I want to maximize my productivity. You see error dog down there barking at there's some errors, but that I do believe none of those errors are with TRE currently. The errors I believe are all that I'm using some mods that here that blank out the Sahara here, and some controllable passes here or wherever. We can't really see them at the moment because we don't have any possessions down there. Are for the earlier version of the game, at least not the versions that I've subscribed to, have updated. That's what's causing that to happen. Now I have been playing this on at full speed, and some of the events have been popping up 2 and 3 at a time, which I don't like, and I don't know good way to control it. So I'm testing this while we're playing here to see if how often it checks and presents a new event is dependent at all upon the speed of the game being played. And I'm just sort of doing this to keep busy a bit. Okay, well, all three popped up at the same time. And I know they don't have the same start date conditions. And I don't know if I were to go back to, and I want to maybe see about that. I know most of you, maybe this is too far into the weeds. In Hearts of Iron 3, you use the code date equals a certain date, and then on that date or after, because there may be other conditions, the event fires. Now they use the code date greater than the date, so it's sometime after that, or date less than. So if you want to you want it to happen in 1936 but not 1937, so like let's say you just have a small window for it to happen, you can specify it. Okay, as if you've watched the preview of Tanganyika, we have our current working thanks to Schwabenland, who did the coding. I'm still not sure whether I'm going to continue using the sort of photo holder brackets from a photo album, but I've left them in there so far. But otherwise I really like the coding. I would sort of prefer to have the event image below the title and above the text, but this is all that we can do. So we're going to start, which I adjust. Now, I could go in here, because notice it says add production, then a negative number, steel in the Rhineland. I could go in and change the map. I don't do that primarily because this keeps greater compatibility with other mods. So if another mod is going in and changing the map, like the map mod is here, less chances of conflict. Now if they're going in and radically changing it to the different state numbers and moving things around, things, you know, too many changes will get it off track. But by having it in the event at the start, it makes it more compatible. And this is Winter Olympics. We're paying 10 political points. Right now we're at 50 political points. Just to sort of show how this is working. We're using political points to pay for things. So we're going to pay for getting ready for the Winter Olympics down to 40. And BRABAG here is the acronym or whatever for a synthetic plant. Now this doesn't cost anything because this plant, maybe it wasn't quite this big at the time, but it was a commercial level synthetic refinery before 1936. So that they were producing commercial levels and selling it commercially, though I think at a loss economically, synthetic fuel. So that obviously just popped up, and we also have minor boost for researching synthetic fuels because of that. And this is just to sort of say, hey, Germany's doing this better than Britain, say, who might have near equal numbers or equal numbers. I haven't looked at all the nations of research slots, or Japan, who did do some synthetic research, but were nowhere near the level of Germany at the time. Excuse me. We're still going to get events in spurts. I'll speed this up, but I sort of liked the Hearts of Iron 3, and when you remilitarize the Rhineland, you've got more factories, and I sort of like that setup because prior to the Nazis getting into power, and that's part of the way they got into power, France was administering, and at different times and at different levels, was administering this part of Germany, and they it was partially demilitarized zone based, whether it's on the Treaty of Versailles or some other later, I think it was Versailles, but there were several treaties right around that time that were signed that'll demilitarize it. But France also came in and seized, again they're popping up all at once, damn, okay. Now I don't know of any coding problems I could change, because notice these are sort of happening in threes. I think this is an engine thing. But back to this, sorry. When Germany was defaulting on its war reparations payments, and some of that, France came in and seized factories and mines and other industrial elements in the Rhineland, and basically hauled the produce back to France as reparations for World War I and the damage they did. So as we can see, there's no military factories there, and there's a bunch here that I don't think Germany should be having access to at this time. Civil factories, maybe. I can see the argument for that, because I don't think in 35, 36, none of that was being to the benefit of the Reich. But definitely they weren't before the remilitarization. At least I don't think. See, definitely or not. Well, I don't think they were actively making tanks or aircraft or other things in the demilitarized zone. I don't think they were, because I know some of the only legal armaments manufacturing was here in Erfurt. That was it. Now, at least the only legal one under the Treaty of Versailles. And I don't know exactly when, you know, obviously it was after the well, there was there were covert operations before the Nazis came into power, and covert production elements, but the only overt started after the Nazis came to power and after 33, but they didn't start making mass numbers of military weapons in 33 or 34. It was starting in 35, 36. The designers really did well in picking 36 as the year that Germany really started to build armaments up for the first time. So their only armaments factory were in Erfurt, and things like, if you notice, a lot of the early bomber types were all technically designed as mail planes, you know, small, fast, light, you know, not voluminous cargo planes, because they were designed to carry dense, heavy loads, bombs, instead of big, light things. You know, they were designing all these bombers and things under other project reasons. Okay, so in 1930, the Himalayan expedition, that's the cover of the book that I use, you can read about. She was the woman with, and she's pictured, I think that's her right there in that group photo, one of the only woman with this German expedition to the Himalayas. Someday I will cover the later Nazi expedition, but this was the first German expedition to the Himalayas. So we've got better relations with the Himalayas, or with the Tibet up there, and there we go. We're going to start the games. We're going to read about Sonia Henning. I know I talked about her in the last earlier version of this. Nice dance show. Coca-Cola sponsored, well, at least in a minor way. Closing ceremonies. We decrease world tension. Now, and David Frankfurter, kills Gustav. Oh, I think the remilitarization, I know it was 36. I thought happened before well, definitely happened before the Summer Olympics. Well, no, before the Winter Olympics. So I'm thinking of back on this, of removing some of these and having them come back only once you get yeah, we're going to speed this up. No, don't need that. Once you remilitarize the Rhineland, at least the armaments factories. And of course, armaments factories could theoretically be making trucks, which the Ford plant was here in Cologne at this time, and making aircraft, which were theoretically commercial. Okay, Hindenburg is completed. Very much used for Nazi propaganda. The inside of the dining room. See the map with a, I think it was the murals depicting where the Graf Zeppelin LZ-27 had traveled around its time. The Hindenburg was basically a replacement for the LZ-27. Okay, now here is a standard event from the, and this is the first time I've got this event in all of my many playthroughs. How interesting. We're going to see how this goes. But this is a standard event done for Hearts of Iron by the Paradox crew. You can see how it's displaying the image here versus mine. I intend before general release to redo their images, whether I just take this and blow it up bigger and stick it in the center here, or whether I completely remake it. I don't know, and it may be on a case-by-case basis. But let's see. This is the first time I've ever gotten this, and I think I've done 100 starts or more. The British and French have refused to accept the remilitarization of the Rhineland, calling it an unforgivable breach of the Versailles Treaty. They are mobilizing their forces against us and have issued an ultimatum that our forces back down at once, and the Rhineland remain demilitarized, or our nations are at war. Declares war on the Reich. Well, oh, the French Commune declared war. This is the event now. Okay, we're going to stop this. Not this episode, but we're going to load gain. Because I want to show off TRE, which is designed... TRE, Third Reich Events, is designed to follow the historical path. You can go off of it while you're playing it, but a lot of the events, like the Olympics, many others, are designed to happen only if you're at peace. So, if you want to say, and I talked earlier about the greater than and less than signs for dates, and I have been thinking about going in and adding a not after a certain time. So say if you wanted to start the game and then mass all your troops up here and immediately justify war and go in after Denmark or something like that and take Denmark, just using it as an example, and no, I haven't done it, so I don't know that it's all that easy or difficult, just don't know, right at the start, and do that as like a short victorious war kind of thing and then go back to peace. I don't want events that are designed for at peace to happen at 1930 6 to be happening at peace in 1937, such as the Olympics. If you're at war, you're not going to be getting the Winter or Summer Olympics in Germany at this time, and they're not going to, oh, well, then have it a year later. It's either going to be canceled, or like when Japan was supposed to be holding the 1940 Olympics, it's bad behavior in China. Not just that it was at war with China, because it had already taken Manchuria away from China, but it was their aggressive war against China, their war crimes against China, as well as more than one incident attacking Western nations and military forces that were in China, in that region, that they canceled the Japanese 1940 games and gave the summer, because in the old days before World War II, the Winter and Summer Olympics happened the same year, so they gave the Summer Olympics to Helsinki and, what is it, Garnash Parkinson, or I don't, down here. Don't know if I can pronounce that correctly. Where they had held the 1936 Winter Olympics, they gave the Winter Olympics, because all the facilities were in good shape still and everything, gave the Winter Olympics to Germany again, even though they were, well, we can go in, there's a whole, I have a lot I want to do on the Olympics that I haven't really touched with the Summer Olympics and Germany's involvement there. But they gave that, even with Germany's behavior leading up to 1940, gave it back to Germany, the Winter Olympics. So that's what they would have done, in my opinion. So there are definitely checks if you're at peace, and I want to make it so they don't fire too much later. So if you want to do a lot of short wars and things, it's going to throw off events, and we'll talk about that. Okay, this is the historical path that we get to remilitarize the Rhineland. Okay, now we're going to complete the Reich Autobahn. Basically in 36 is when the Autobahn was mostly completed, as it was at the time. Okay, I've decided in playing this, in playing 1936, getting Wilhelm Keitel very early on here, because it reduces training time by 10%, is a very good thing. These are, Heinkel is not the best, in my opinion. Well, if you're looking for strategic bombing, though Rheinmetall's a good artillery designer for it within this game is what I'm talking about. Not talking about the actual companies, but these were I took to be the most prominent companies and put them there now. So again here, okay, this is Vladka, sorry, my Czech friends, that is the flag in Czech. He was a nut job. He started the magazine and the fascist movement. The reason I call him a nut job is because, I mean, we can talk about the evils, which definitely now looking back, in my opinion, the evils of the National Socialist type movements, as well as well, I don't quite want to go to say evil in fascism. I think fascism is bad. There is bad and there is evil. Those are two different things. Communism and Nazism are evil. They kill way too many millions of people. Fascism is just bad. That's how I look at it. So don't think I'm saying it's fascism okay. But his book, translated into English, Practical Telepathy, or the Transfer and Reading of Mind as the Key to Mental Magic. That's the best translation I can get from the title of this book. That's why I call him a nut job, and other similar books. He was publishing a lot of these things as well. So he's a Czech. Now this is a Czech, basically National Socialist movement. I think a bit more National Socialist than fascist, but obviously with this we only have fascism, democracy, and communism, and whatever non-aligned it's supposed to be. I tried to get them to say way back when to call it traditionalism, but whatever. Okay, President Benez, I presume is more or less how you pronounce it. Okay, he calls in here the German ambassador Erz Eisler for talks to reduce tension, so that will reduce Czech start paying some political power points to reduce tension between Germany and Czechoslovakia. So we will improve our relations with them. Okay, Haus des Radfunk, basically broadcasting, House of Broadcasting. Event originally created for Black Ice to deal with some of their radio stuff that they may return, but we're going to just look at this as, you can see, national unity. I've moved national unity as starting down to 60%. I don't think Germany had nearly that strong of national unity in the beginning of 1936, because Germany was still very factionalized. Obviously you had still a lot of communists running around, no longer in political power, say, and by 1936 all the communist unions were broken up, but that's just their organizing element, not necessarily the workers. A lot of people were still sort of pro the Weimar government. There were also a lot of traditionalists. You know, we think of, you know, the German army at this time as a element of that. So I look at it much less unified as this. So there was a massive, and this is a huge building in Berlin, and it's still around. Basically untouched, basically untouched during the war. And so it was a very centralized message that the Nazi Party were putting out at this time. So cost us some political power, but we gained 2% international unity, so we're now up at 76. Okay, we're going to take this opportunity to end this episode. Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking the video. Please post questions, comments, suggestions, ideas, primarily, well, about this vid, but also about Third Reich events. Mostly, so far, I've only added one unique new event in the production moving over, so mostly it's just converting the old version to the new game. That's where I'm putting my focus on, but we're going to be making a whole hell of a lot more, not just for Germany, but for everywhere once we get this out. So your participation is crucial. I really like all of your support. If you can go into the Tanganyika mod and on Steam and give it the thumbs up rating, that will help it a lot. Even if you're not playing it, you can, you know, subscribing to it, and you can just subscribe to it if you want to. That helps as well, even if you don't actually click on it to play it. Just subscribe to it. That helps. Liking the main TRE thread in mods on the Hearts of Iron 4 forum helps. All that publicity type things, and of course, whether in one of my threads or somewhere else on the web, whether it's in the Steam forums, in Reddit, or some other places, tell people how much you want to see TRE or you like what's going on. All that publicity really helps get the mod, get, you know, people interested in it. obviously they're seeing what's happening with it here, and it also, of course, you can tell them about the channel and why they might like to see the channel. I really appreciate all of you who do those kind of things very much. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron.